I love these type of projects because they're relatively simple to build, yet you get an impressive outcome. I'd say the skill level is probably at a moderate range. We're not too many tools needed for a keen DIYer or hobbyist. Now let's go take a look at some of the tools we're going to be using. We're going to need a drill and a driver, a random orbital sander. We're going to need 2 routers really. We're going to need a 1/4 inch palm router and a 1/2 inch router. You're going to want a pocket hole jig and a track saw. Of all the videos that I've watched on YouTube about how to do a bind door, especially with these rail systems that you can get, one part of the video that I thought was missing was the actual measurements from how to measure your door and where to put the rail. So I've just wrote some notes in my book here and I'm just going to cover them for you because I think this is the most difficult part of the project. The first one being, mount the centre of the rail 110mm from the top of the door opening to the centre of the rail. Number 2, measure from the floor to the bottom of the rail. From that measurement, you want to deduct 10mm for floor clearance, and 15mm for clearance from the top of the door to the rail. And then that will give you the overall size, the height of your door. For the width, measure the door opening, add 100mm either side so the door covers the entire opening, and that will give you the full dimensions of your door. Any questions, just pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Now let's get on with the build.
The wood I'm going to be using for the barn door is redwood PSE, plain square edge on all 4 sides. It's also been kiln dried, so it should be ready to build with straight away. Fun fact, redwood is a softwood that comes from Scandinavian pine and is grown in the cooler climates of Finland, Norway and Sweden. It's also known as European redwood or Scots pine. Redwood is also widely available here in the UK at a very competitive price. I'll start by cutting a square edge on all the lengths of timber. If there's only 1 or 2 lengths at a certain size, I'll just measure and cut the individual boards. However, if there's more than 2, I'll set up a stop block for consistency. Once the boards have been cut to size, I can start the process of cutting the joinery. Today this is a simple task as I'm using the Karl pocket hole jig. I'm using the pocket hole jig because it's fast, efficient and strong enough for the task at hand. Pocket holes have been used by joiners and cabinet makers for at least 300 years and maybe even older. For an example, a table was found dated back from 1840 where the top was attached using pocket hole screws. It's only in recent times with new jigs and technology that pocket hole joinery has become more well known. I use my trend trim router to pop a 45° chamfer on all the boards. This is to give the illusion of tongue and groove without the effort of actually making it or buying it at the additional cost. Now if this were an actual barn door being used outside, I would have not used pocket hole joinery or faked the tongue and groove. Actual tongue and groove will provide much more weather protection to the door and whatever is beyond it. Also, I would have used a more substantial joinery such as mortise and tenon or dominoes for the additional strength. As this door is purely for indoor and light use, this method will be more than adequate. After checking square by measuring from corner to corner, I attached the boards using plenty of glue and temporarily with 18 gauge brad nails to stop the boards from slipping around. I then had pocket hole screws through the front of the boards, marking out the screw placement so that they all look uniform. took the track saw and I ripped off the excess boards from the sides, top and bottom to bring the door down to its final dimensions. Since track saws have become more popular, you can now find them at very reasonable prices, even compared to a circular saw. Personally, my circular saw never sees the light of day. Next I use the palm router to put a small round over on all the sharp edges. Palm routers are an excellent tool to have at your disposal for small tasks such as trim work and intricate detailing. However, for more substantial tasks such as this groove in the bottom of our door, a 1/2 inch plunge router is better suited due to its increased power. Window packers were used to elevate the door 10mm so that we could accurately mark out the hardware in situ. The hardware was purchased from Amazon and it was a reasonable price, so I'll leave an affiliate link in the description for anyone who is interested. If you're enjoying the video, please give us a like and subscribe. Don't forget, it's totally free. We have over 370 videos, all woodworking and DIY, so feel free to browse our backlog. One last thing, we would like to thank all our Patreon and channel members for their ongoing donations. You're amazing. Thank you. A combination square is used to accurately place the hardware, and when drilling I use a sacrificial piece of scrap wood placed beneath the door to prevent tear out. After you've attached the hardware with the M8 bolts provided, you will need to figure out the placement of the plastic T-shaped guide and using a combi drill secure it to the floor. This is for the door to run along and prevents the door from swaying back and forth. For finish we use Rustin's dark oak wood dye. Did you know wood dye is pigment only and stain is pigment and varnish? Professional cabinet makers prefer to use dye over stain, as the pigment in stain sits on the surface of the wood and can look patchy and streaky, whereas dye penetrates the wood, giving a more natural finish. To add a layer of protection and give a nice satin finish, I apply a coat of Fiddy's Rugger Brown furniture wax. Easily applied with a brush, wiping off any excess with a rag and leaving to dry for 15 minutes before buffing to a satin finish. I was looking for a handle searching in my storeroom and I struck gold with this industrial style handle that I had from an old challenge video from a few years ago. Just before we check out the final results, just want to say a massive thank you if you're still watching at this point, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video guys. Enjoy those final results, here they come.